Oh boy. Hi. Let's do that introduction all over again. Folie à Deux is not a musical. There's a new Venom in town, and he's a bad mother. Uh, this, uh, let's see. There's a Hello Kitty and Yu-Gi-Oh crossover Happy Meal going on at McDonald's right now. We talk about that in a minute. And in the new Wolverine Revenge series, our favorite super soldiers did not make the cut. All this and more, Cutting Edge Hero Live. Everybody, welcome to the show. The chatters, thank you for showing up. I'm glad you're here. Our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, Ben Stewart, should be in the comments any minute now. And Landon Felter is out. And so we've had a couple technical difficulties, but my very first offspring and my very favorite son is running the show tonight. Damien, say hi to the people.
Hi.
Hi again, he says. Apparently, when you click go live, you have to hit it a couple of times. And that's okay. Those are things Landon knew that he didn't teach us. So, Landon, it's your fault. Actually, we also have Mr. James Gavsie in the green room right now waiting to join us on the show so we can talk about his new movie, Alpha Initiative Zero. You may know him from the Who Would Win podcast. Damien, let's bring him on. James, what is up? I am glad you're here.
What is going on? Thank you for having me on the show. You know what? We all have technical difficulties, and that happens. But you know what? You're professional. You pulled it off beautifully. Good for you.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I before we even got to the live, you and I were discussing, and I was like, I'm gonna do this fun little thing where I screen cap your movie trailer and send it over. Well, that's a dot move, and it requires MP4, so I can't even show it on the show right now. And I apologize, James, but we can send everyone, we can direct everyone to go to your website and check this trailer out.
Listen, it's not going to matter because what I'll do is I'm great with shadow puppets, and I think you are as well. It's a hidden talent I saw on your dating profile. Together, there you go, there you go, there you go. A talking dog, comes into.
That was a little girl.
Okay, well, we're gonna have a problem then. I have full confidence that we'll be able to explain this fully. It's not a big deal. But again, thank you for having me on the show. Super excited.
I am glad to have you here. I am a huge fan of the Who Would Win podcast. You guys do a great job of breaking down the arguments. Who would win? Inherent in the name, but like some of the matchups you guys have picked have just been absolutely insane, and they are so fun to listen to. You guys break them down. What has been your favorite out of the ones you've done so far?
You know, season 1 with Ray Sakane as my co-host, just to explain the dynamic. He's a good guy, great dad, great family guy, the whole thing. Kind of a jerk on the show, not going to lie. He and I kind of get on each other's nerves. Former pro wrestler, heel, surprise, surprise. And I'm the, good guy, kind of more of the MMA, LA guy who's kind of like cool with everyone until you piss me off, then we have a problem. Anyway, so we debate these characters. And we come with some crazy matchups. And my favorite one is actually from season 1 of the Who Would Win show, where it was Ray Sakane representing Michael Myers, and I was representing Scooby-Doo. And everyone thought Scooby-Doo was going to get murdered until I revealed what most people already know is that Scooby-Doo is quite possibly the most powerful reality warping character in all of cartoon animation geek culture.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that one because it sounds like an incredible matchup. Ruh-roh Raggy, who's gonna mess with that, and I'm willing to bet that some Scooby snacks came into the discussion. Maybe is that like a power up or
We didn't go there. All I had to say was, look, Michael Myers is great. He gets hit. He can kind of do crazy stuff. He's got durability, super strength. But I said, Scooby-Doo, this is why, my wife questions her life choices quite often. I said, Scooby-Doo can ride a pile driver across the floor as a vehicle, then up a wall, and then upside down on the ceiling, and then stay there indefinitely. Yeah. I don't know about you, but that's some crazy-ass power that, Michael Myers just is not ready to deal with.
Yeah, and it's really hard with the power scaling on Michael Myers because, in some movies, a single bullet shot puts him down. And then in some movies, like Halloween 4, for instance, he is standing on the side of the road and they get in a truck and they drive away at like 65 miles an hour. And you're like, okay, they got away from him. And then all of a sudden he sticks his hand through the windshield and shoves his thumb through the doctor's forehead. And it's like, how? He was walking. How the hell did he get here? So...
See, you're tapping into the magic of the Who Would Win show. This is just something I look at it's a podcast. We've been doing it forever. It was originally supposed to be a TV show that I was developing, and we are going to have it was going to be all about combat sports personalities, right? Like who would win between Andre the Giant and Bruce Lee, some real fun stuff. And they bring in some MMA personalities and we debate it. And I'm like, let's ship that over. The TV show never quite went where I needed to. Something about licensing characters, and having Superman go up against Thor might be a hard thing to do, DC and whatever, and Disney being what it is.
And those assholes are legendarily litigious. So it's like,
why wouldn't they want this is what I've been trying to figure out. Like, why wouldn't they want one of their mainstay IPs to look very weak and horrible in comparison to their competition? I don't get it. I don't see why they would.
You have sold me. I'm backing at 100%.
True. Now with the podcast, like, a lot of other doors have opened. So I've been doing some other TV stuff and, some film stuff and also super happy to do it. And, I'm a big nerd. I'm a physically big guy, about 6'3", 260, but I'm a bigger nerd. Like you're the nerd king. I don't compare to the nerd king. I bow down to the nerd king's greatness, but I'm definitely like a nerd prince or a nerd.
I will welcome you into my kingdom. Nerd
Thank
prince.
you very much.
I want to take a minute to recognize who we have in the comments tonight. We got Eric Johnson. He is in the chat. Eric, what is up? Billy Rhodes, glad you are here. And then let's see. That's where we're at so far. my flood of legions of fans are a little slow on the uptick, but they'll be here. But anyway, so how did you get into this Alpha Initiative Zero project?
So I met the creators, Siobhan Thomas, Chris Iqbo, at WonderCon 2017. Had my son who was with me, and I'm like, hey, go out, look for really cool stuff, and come back and tell me what's up. He introduced me to the Creative Extreme guys at their booth. They created 365 characters, one character per day, and I'm talking about artwork, backstory, how they interact with their own universe. They created a whole comic book universe within 1 year. Just brilliant individuals. So we had that. So on a side note, I'm good friends with his first name Michael Lair, well-known fight coordinator for, did Mortal Kombat 2, Extraction. You can actually see him on screen on John Wick doing a lot of cool stunt stuff. Really good guy. And he's like, let's make something together because we're huge comic book fans and geek culture fans. I'm like, great, let me find some comic book IP to do it. And it came down to some big companies and some not so big. And I'm like, you know what? Our budget, I don't think we should actually go with like people flying and fighting in the space or, flying powers and explosions and laser eyes and all that kind of good stuff and cars being thrown. Let's make this more like a John Wick meets Captain America. And then Alpha Initiative Zero had the right characters for that. So we did a superhero short film, which acts as a prequel to their comic book series.
That's really cool. So who's publishing the comic book series?
That it's a limited series. It's the Creative Extreme. They're self-publishing. They've already done it. Yeah, and they've done it, and that's just one group of characters in this whole comic book universe they have.
That is incredible because I've seen, like, I watched the trailer that you put out. I mean, thankfully you shared it with us, and I'm really glad that you did because I'm already excited about this project. But like the cinematography on it is great. You can tell that this is created by someone who with like a real eye and care for like the story that you guys are telling. Like it is so hype. And like I think in the chat that we were having, I was like, this is like this just reminds me of like Raid Redemption with superpowers, which is like that's one of the greatest movies ever made. So I don't think that there's a better spec ops like comparison movie that you can put out there, and you guys are nailing it.
Thank you so much. And by the way, you nailed it as well. It's exactly, the raid came in. We were talking about John Wick. We were talking about, okay, what do we want to see? And when we did this, look, Michael Lair, he was the director, and I already told you, a great fight coordinator. We had Robin Babello, who was the DP, the cinematographer. She had the hardest job of it all because we had a production meeting before everything started. And she's like, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, okay, look, I'm Canadian. I'm really nice, but I'm American. And then I'm very direct. This has to look like Netflix or Apple premium content. Yeah. That's what you have to make it look like. We'll provide the action, the story, the everything. You got to make it look great. Like if this was done, it was done for a lot of money. And she rose to the occasion and just did a great job with the purple lights in this dungeon-like place in the fashion district of LA. I mean, she just killed it. So the bottom line is everyone involved with a superhero short, not to put down anyone else because everyone's doing a great job. But I know for a fact we were all like industry people who are fans of superhero content, who are like, you know what? We're not quite seeing what we want to see. So let's make it. And we did.
That is like I think that it's incredible that as like nerds, especially those of us, I'm 42, so I was a nerd through a period where it was not safe to be a nerd. And our opinions didn't matter and nobody gave a shit about the stuff that we were interested in. So like it was so interesting to grow up through like the 80s and the 90s and then hit like the 2000s and like X-Men hit and like Blade and all that shit got popular, and then the Marvel Studios happened, and now it's like everything I have to say people find interesting now. And it's like I used to like sit in my little corner and talk about this stuff and be like, well, it'd be really cool if Spider-Man and Superman fought one time and nobody had kryptonite, but Spider-Man had extra powers, and nobody was interested in that. Now it's like I can have an entire digital media format based on it. So it's really cool that you've been able to transition that into making films that and I love the way you said it. It's like this is something you're passionate about and you want to see it. And if you don't make it, nobody else is,
Well, this is the thing. Like, I was at this really insane dinner party. I happen to live in LA, and there's crazy houses, and just like every other city, but LA is sometimes way over the top. We're at this insanely fancy dinner party, and everyone's talking about what some interesting thing they're doing. Someone's got a yacht. Someone, of course, I'm just fitting in perfectly, which I'm not, but everyone's really cool. And I said, I do but there's this podcast talk about who would win. They're like, wait, what's that? And there's these doctors and producers and these highfalutin people. And when I mentioned, we're kind of debating, we did one debate of Harry Potter versus Luke Skywalker. Everyone talks about that, but we actually did that as an episode.
Yeah.
The entire table went nuts. Everyone had an opinion. Someone's like, well, Harry Potter would use their wand to kill Luke Skywalker from a distance. And this guy who's like into like football said, Harry Potter can't use that particular spell because that's for killing people, and that's not what he does. So the spell wouldn't even work and I'm like, what is happening here? It's crazy. So you're absolutely right. The new zeitgeist of culture and what we talk about is about superhero, Star Wars, sci-fi, fantasy. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And what's really cool is that like you're in LA, I'm in the fucking boot heel of Missouri. There's no other way that we meet ever.
None.
Like, had this
because I have
not
standards.
happened,
I have standards. I don't think I'd ever talk. I'm kidding. I'm sure you've got standards. We never. No, but you're right. Like, this is how people connect. I've met wonderful people such as yourself overseas. I'm talking to someone in Jordan of all places about stuff, and it's a great way. At the beginning of the podcast, I say, welcome to Who Would Win, a show that completely ignores anything and everything that's important that's happening in the world, and instead discusses this hypothetical matchup. And when you're on opposite sides of any political or whatever it is, but you say like, by the way, Luke Skywalker versus Batman, do you think Batman has a chance? And wow, you guys can connect over some great nerdy stuff.
Yeah. Do you find hosting a podcast of this nature, do you find that it's really hard to do anything Batman related? Because the overarching idea for Batman is that Batman's superpower is winning.
I didn't have a problem with it until we did an episode of Batman versus Yoda. and I was repping Batman, and I'm a huge Star Wars fanatic too.
Yeah.
And I went deep into Yoda we're talking about present day before he dies, Yoda, and how Yoda only lasts for so long before his body gives up, regardless of it. So I said Batman just has to last. And then I proved in a fight with Yoda and Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, how Yoda actually had to escape from Palpatine at the end of the battle. Palpatine kind of won. And so I got the win, and people lost their freaking minds. There's no way. So yeah, up until that point, I was like, Batman's great. He could do it, until I said I got the win of him beating Yoda. By the way, totally deserved.
Yeah. Well, I think that the interesting thing about nerd culture and these kind of arguments, these who would win arguments, sometimes it just comes down to the person with the deepest knowledge of the character, because there's been so many crazy stories told about these guys, and it's so hard whenever you're like, well, Yoda couldn't Batman has the bat wing, he'd be able to like swoop in and attack Yoda, and it's like, yeah, but Yoda can move an entire fucking Star Destroyer, like he doesn't, that's not really a thing you can use. But it's like so hard to have these conversations, right? But that's the fun of it.
And what's really fun with the Who Would Win podcast is that we bring in a new judge every week, right? We have recurring judges, so sometimes it's up to the judge. We did Muppets versus Sesame Street, one of our most epic battles. The Huffington Post came in and started talking about who they thought would win. I mean, just really when it starts crossing those lines. And I proved without a shadow of doubt that Sesame Street would win. And then we reversed it. Ray represented, I had to represent the Muppets after, because whatever, we did another episode. And the judge, who was really, really cool, Ray, my co-host, said, well, when you bring in pigs in space from the Muppets, but Elmo had a spaceship, so all Elmo has to do is be a suicide bomber. This is horrible. And suicide bomb the pigs in spaceship. And I'm like, that's totally not in Elmo's. When has Elmo
Right.
ever shown that any tendencies that he'd be a suicide bomber from, which is a horrible thing to say about Sesame Street and the Muppets.
And he's like, Elmo about her girl, haha.
Right. I did say that Elmo was one of Ernie's enforcers, because Ernie had like a soprano-like crime family. You'll notice there's no homeless people on Sesame Street in New York, of all places. How did that happen, I wonder? By the way, how often does Ernie show up on the streets?
Huh?
How often does Ernie actually go out on the streets of Sesame Street?
That's true.
Rarely.
Ernie is living in his gay couple, like, perfect lifestyle where they never have to leave their house. They're both they both work from home, clearly.
Yeah.
And he and Bert are just vibing and
right,
and happy.
And that's great. And great. By the way, side note, notice that Bert never blinks. Like that's like one really of the 10 psychopathic tendencies of a true violent psychopath. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hold on, the kids chiming in. What?
Bert and Ernie leave their house often. It's just always at night and through a magic portal.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you just get the person with the most lore.
Oh, you really? You want your son to kind of check this out? Okay, did you know that Oscar the Grouch has something in common with Doctor Who?
The trash can's bigger on the inside.
That's right. The trash can is a tesseract.
Yeah.
And again, this is why my wife questions her life choices and why we get married, because that's an important thing to know.
Billy Rhodes said, so are we going to do Goku versus Superman? Is that the sworn off who would win?
No, we're going to revisit it. We did Goku versus Superman. We had a great judge in who, oddly enough, didn't know anything about Goku. So Ray, my co-host, lied and said that Goku would use mind reading powers on Superman to discover kryptonite, teleport to where there's kryptonite. And I'm like, that's not something Goku's. But the judge is like, I'm just going to believe Ray. And again, the audience just went nuts. And that's the fun part of the show. It's not to prove without a shadow of a doubt who is better. It's simply to have a date and see who the judge agrees with that moment. That's it.
Yes. And Eric Johnson said Goku and Superman is a real heated topic. I don't know why. Goku would clearly win. And Deontay Lifter is in the chat. He said, Konnichiwa. Deontay, I'm glad you're here. What's up? Deontay the Giant of Saturday Night Nerds fame in the chat. Well, James, I know you've got a hard out in about 5 minutes, so we can wrap up here. When and where can people catch Who Would Win, and where would they go to catch the trailer and the updates for Alpha Initiative Zero?
Sure. You can find Who Would Win on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you go for your podcast. Check us out on @WhoWouldWin Show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Join our Facebook group. This thing's blowing up. I know Facebook's not everyone's favorite, but trust me, it's a great place to post your stuff. And then in terms of Alpha Initiative Zero, go check out the trailer at www.thecreativeextreme.com. Again, that's www.thecreativeextreme.com. Check out the trailer, stay there for updates. And the superhero short itself, the live action movie, should be out probably within 5 weeks or so on a number of different platforms. We'll make a big, huge announcement. There'll be a lot of publicity about it. It'll be a lot of fun.
It will be all over the Cutting Edge Hero social media. You'll see it there as well. So we will make sure that everybody that we can get eyeballs on this thing gets to see it, because from what I can see, it's already incredible. So I can't wait to see the whole short.
Awesome. Thank you for all your support. And this is for nerds and geeks who want to see stuff made by nerds and geeks that looks like it's premium content on Netflix.
All right. Well, James, you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for joining us on Cutting Edge Hero. And I promise I will do the judging on the Who Would Win podcast. I also am totally fine with doing a guest argument. I'm just saying you'll probably be tired of me by the end of it, but it would be a good time. But yeah, absolutely. And don't be a stranger. You're always welcome on the show.
Thank you so much. And again, thanks for all your support, and we'll definitely be in touch soon.
All right, brother. I'll catch you later. So that was James Gavsie of Who Would Win podcast and Alpha Initiative Zero. Super glad we got a chance to do that, James. And like I said, we will be keeping our eyes closely on the Alpha Initiative Zero page for developments and things as they happen. Small note to our step-in technical director. As you see the comments pop up, if you like highlight them and just hit like highlight on it, it'll pop them up on the screen so people who are viewing can see them. So just so you're aware, that's a fun little thing we get to do. I'm also going to take a second to share our show on Facebook because I forgot to do that before we went live. So everyone talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to be doing this for 2 seconds. Let me go to the Cutting Edge Hero page. Yes, I'm going to narrate what I'm doing as I do it. Don't want you guys to miss out. Oh, I know how to use my phone. Don't want you guys to miss out. Oh, look, there's my voice. Okay, 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Everyone stay. Don't run away. So we did have a little bit of a snafu whenever we went live at first. So we are going to take a step back. Damien, what was the nerdiest thing you did this week?
I said I was your son.
Yes. Being my son is the nerdiest thing Damien has done this week. And, I can't even argue with him. He's definitely right. Billy Rhodes said, actually doing the show at 7 is a good change. Well, 7-ish. You know what? We tried. And I think that's the important thing. So thank you, Billy. I appreciate you appreciating me. The nerdiest thing I've done this week is the PlayStation Plus dropped the remastered Shadowrun games from the old SNES onto the on PlayStation Plus. Downloaded it so that I could watch Damien play it, and I got to sit and enjoy my son enjoying something that I haven't played since I was 15 years old. And it was equally as frustrating for him as it was for me. I don't think he got much further in the game than I ever did. But that's okay. We'll come back around. Maybe we'll watch a YouTube tutorial on it or something. Deontay said nerdiest thing he did was lose his shit at Alien Romulus. It's his new obsession. I will check it out. I have not gone to the theater to watch that just yet. And so since I'm trying to avoid the spoilers, because apparently there's some big twist at the end of the movie, I have no idea what's going on in that film. But I will check it out later. I did watch the Fundamentals episode where you guys talked about it though. Yes. Cool. Damien, do you want to talk about some news?
Sure.
How about you fire it up, fire it at me, the bullet points. Welcome to Bullet Points. First off, we're going to kick into tabletop gaming news. So, as previously reported, the Stormlight Archive / Cosmere RPG is still being funded on Kickstarter. It set a record of $4 million something for first day fundraising. It set a level of $4 million for the first day of fundraising. Well, as of this show, the Cosmere RPG has raised $8,998,613. It has 8 days left to go on its Kickstarter. And that is 3,599% funding. Is how crazy people are about the Stormlight Archive and this particular TTRPG. So if any of our fans, want to donate a crisp $260 to me so I can fully fund a complete game set for the TTRPG, please do. You can send that directly to my Cash App. I will give you the details later. Speaking of Kickstarters, the Kickstarter for Todd McFarlane's Medieval Spawn re-release. So this is a re-release of the classic Medieval Spawn figure on Kickstarter. Has reached $1 million in the first 5 hours that it was available. So people are dying to get their hands on this Medieval Spawn resculpt. But it met its initial goal of $100,000 in the first 2 minutes that the Kickstarter was live. So, I mean, nerds be funding shit, man. Nerds be funding shit for sure. Eric Johnson, talking about Alien Romulus, said he enjoyed the film and the cinematography. Cannot wait to check it out. D&D Direct, or Wizards of the Coast will be airing a D&D Direct on August 27th on YouTube that will reveal a final look at the 2024 player handbook and outline the future of D&D going into 2025. So if you're wanting to see the future of Dungeons and Dragons as a game and what they're planning to do and the changes that they're planning to make now that they've had this huge shuffling at the top of the company, tune in August 27th and check that out. Over in anime news, and there's not a lot, so bear with me. The Hello Kitty X Yu-Gi-Oh! Happy Meal toys went live yesterday in the US. Now, these went live last year, I think, or maybe like a half a year ago, and they've been available in like Asia and Europe, and people have been able to get their hands on these things. But we, as a country, have not gotten to see them yet. But they are now live at your local McDonald's, and you can go get one. Whenever you're ready or whatever. Jennifer Johnson, Queen of Nerddom, is in the chat. What is up, Jen? I'm glad you're here. Deontay said he's getting a Spawn tattoo soon. Yeah, that's really cool. And please send me some art of that, no matter where you put it. I want to see it. Show me that skin. Studio Ghibli's Grave of the Fireflies is coming to Netflix on September 16th. Now, this is one of the first Studio Ghibli films ever made. And it, whenever Justin Quick in the chat, Justin, what is up? Glad you are here. It deals with some pretty deep stuff from like World War II. And even though HBO Max has had all the rights to the Studio Ghibli films, they did not have the rights to Grave of the Fireflies. And Netflix had it overseas, but not in the United States. Well, they are finally dropping on Netflix in the US September 16th. So those of you who haven't had a chance to see it, it will now be available on streaming services. In comics, this one's a big one. I had a bunch of images that I wanted to send over, and I ran out of time. But anyway, in Marvel Comics, they have unveiled the new Venom symbiote in Ultimate Spider-Man. So in the Ultimate Spider-Man relaunch comics, where Peter made it to like 35 years old before he ever became Spider-Man, they are changing things a lot with like the Spider-Man mythos. And one of the things that they are changing is that the symbiote is not in fact an alien from outer space, but it is a nanotech suit called the Pico suit, developed by Stark Tech, that Peter takes on that can turn into his regular Spider-Man costume as well as other things. Now, the thing that makes it a symbiote is that it has an exact replica of Peter's brain as its AI controlling it. And that AI is starting to take on a life of its own. So that is how they're doing the like symbiote storyline for Ultimate Spider-Man. It'll be cool to see how they do it. I already don't like it, but I'm not trying to be a hater. I just I think that was a weird choice. But over on the 616 side, Jennifer Johnson said, "What the hell?" And Eric Johnson said, "Whoa, a 35 Pico suit like Pico de Gallo, delicious." Yeah, no, it's not that. But actually, I'm going to airdrop these images real quick over to my main man Damien over there, and maybe hold on.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that choice either. I think making a replica of someone's brain doesn't mean that they would immediately develop into a villain. It should be them making the exact same choices, especially if they're both under the same pressures.
Yeah, so I'm going to send these images over to you, Damien. If you could load up the ones I've already talked about and then get the ones that I have not talked about ready. Do you still have the Wi-Fi on the MacBook, the iMac? Yep, there it is. Never mind. I found it.
Don't know how to.
Sorry, everybody. With the handoff from Landon to Damien, we had a little bit of setup time, or missed setup time for the show today. So we're doing catch up. 2 seconds. This will be the last thing I have to do that takes up show time. Here we go. Airdrop. Just look at the side of my head for a second. Not you, the people. You can also look at the side of my head, I guess, but I kind of wanted you to load these images up.
Trying.
I appreciate it. So you will find in there an image of the new Venom. So in the 616, after Venom War, after Venom War is over, which is a war between Eddie Brock and his son Dylan for the Venom symbiote, there's going to be a new Venom coming out of these comics. I'm gonna wait just a second to get this image up.
It doesn't look like they're popping up.
They're screenshots. It's those. That's the ones that say screenshot on them.
Okay.
Not that one.
Nope. That's Batman.
Not that one.
That's
Not
also
that one.
Batman.
Not that one. That one. That's the medieval Spawn. Keep going.
That's the Happy Meal toys.
Yeah. Right there. Yeah, if you could put that image up real quick. So they are there's going to be a new person in the Venom suit coming up after the Venom War ends, which is a 5-issue miniseries. Whenever it's over, it's going to change the dynamic of Venom. So before you see this image, or now that you've seen the image, they're keeping the identity of the new Venom a secret, but your options are Rick Jones, Madam Mask, Robbie Robertson, or Luke Cage. Now, anybody in the chat want to take a guess as to who that is without them revealing? That's definitely Luke Cage. It's literally Luke Cage's font from Iron or Power Man. He's wearing black and gold. Like if that's anyone else, what the hell? Yeah, thank you, Jennifer Johnson, Deontay. It's definitely Luke. Like, oh yeah, it's a total mystery. It could be these other 3 characters. No, it's not. They're clearly picking Luke Cage for it. But so yes, the main man from Marvel Comics, previously played by Mike Coulter in the Netflix series, and he's supposed to be coming back for Daredevil Born Again. Could be another Venom that we get to see on screen. I'm all about a Mike Coulter Venom. Eric Johnson said Luke Cage Venom would be OP. So OP. Absolutely. Super strength, indestructible skin, and a Venom symbiote. My God. That's definitely the Venom I don't want to mess with out of all of the ones that have ever existed. For sure. Although didn't Sentry get Venomized one time? I think in like one of the like big symbiote crossover things, everybody in the Marvel universe was a symbiote at one time. There's actually an entire like alternate universe where all of the superheroes are symbiotes. Cap, Wolverine, everybody. So anyway, that being said, Luke Cage is with a Venom symbiote. That's nuts. Like, and the crazy thing is they've established in Marvel Comics that once you have worn a Venom symbiote, you are forever attached to them. So I mean, you're never going to go back to a point where there won't be Luke Cage Venom stories. So that's pretty exciting. Outside of the main 616, they are Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo are telling a Wolverine story called Wolverine Revenge. This does not take place in the main Marvel canon, and it is a story about Magneto dying, and it sets off. It's up one more. Nope, down 5. That one. It sets up this story where Magneto dies, and when Magneto dies, he sets off the strongest EMP the world has ever seen, and it wipes out everything and kills like 600 million people. And so Luke Cage recruits Wolverine and Captain America and Bucky to go get a cold fusion reactor to get the electric grid running again. So on the way to this mission to go steal this thing, they get defeated and taken by Sabretooth, Deadpool, Omega Red, and then in a surprise twist, Colossus is on that side. And they implant bombs in the chests of these characters. And then after all of that's done and they finish with all of their stuff, they set them free. So Wolverine and Cap and Bucky are walking away like they think they've survived. And then if you'll put that image up, Deadpool goes ahead and pushes the button and sets the bombs off. Now, we know Wolverine's fine in this instance, but guess who isn't? Yeah, that's right. In this universe, Bucky and Cap are dead, and that is the thing that Wolverine is taking revenge over in this series. So we have that to look forward to. The comic is really fun. It's just kind of a crazy, like, balls to the wall Wolverine story. So definitely enjoyable. Check that out if you get time. We also have in the current, ever since Death and Return of Superman, there's just been this like rash of like the need to like kill off popular characters and then bring them back later. But the newest one that the comic industry is doing that to is actually Deadpool, the unkillable merc with a mouth. Is actually going to suffer death at the hands of Death Grip, a new villain that they've recently introduced in Marvel Comics, who's all about killing things. Like his big thing is that he just kills everything. So he actually gets his hand on the Muramasa blade, which for those of you who are big Wolverine fans will remember that the Muramasa blade is a blade forged entirely out of Wolverine's rage and anger. And it is the only blade in the world that characters that can heal, like Wolverine, Sabretooth, Deadpool, cannot heal from the cuts that this wound gives, or this blade gives. So Death Grip is going to kill Deadpool, and then Deadpool is going to be replaced by his 14-year-old teenage daughter, Ellie, seen here as Ellie Pool. She's going to be trained by Taskmaster and martial arts combat, and will be picking up her father's mantle going forward, at least for a little while. We'll see how that all shakes out. But yeah, also I need to check into this because and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but back whenever Daken was first introduced in the Wolverine comics, he had the Muramasa blade melted down and had his claws coated in it. And that's what makes Daken so dangerous to Wolverine, is that he has claws that do damage that doesn't heal. And it seems as though somehow they got the Muramasa metal back off of Daken's claws and then used it to make another Muramasa blade to kill Deadpool. I don't know. Comics are weird, but I'll have to do some follow up on that lore. I don't need the Batman images up there. As you're loading images up, Damien. Those are all from a Batman costume I'm working on. It's just inspiration.
What, your fifth one?
Yeah, well, you can never have too many Batman costumes. Look at Bruce Wayne.
I
So
don't
many
think
Batman
that counts.
costumes. It totally counts. Yeah. Eric Johnson said he had the blade implanted in his forearms. Yeah, so Daken has the 3 blades. It's 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom, and the bottom one he had coated with the Muramasa blade. So on both sides, just so he could be like really dangerous to people with healing factors. I don't know if they ever actually established in the comics. Okay. Eric Johnson's answering me. The sword was split, but the blades were removed when Wolverine defeated Daken, later reforged to kill Sabretooth. I actually believe he killed Sabretooth first because he beheaded him, and I think that happened before, because that was the origin of the Muramasa blade in the comics, was that storyline where he killed Sabretooth with it. So unless they killed Sabretooth again with a newly reforged Muramasa blade, which is totally possible because, as Landon and I have said a million times, comics are weird, man. Billy Rhodes said it totally counts. Bruce got a lot of costumes. Thank you, Billy. I appreciate that. And Eric says, "Oh, I might have had it backwards." You might have had it correct, and we may both be accurate too, Eric. It's like, who knows, man? I mean, I know for the most part, but I may have missed an issue here or there. But anyway, Kei Hori, Reshaper of Worlds, who you may know as the Mohawk warrior who was introduced in Marvel's What If through the MCU, is getting her first introduction into the Marvel 616 Prime, which is what they're calling the comic universe now, because unfortunately we have a 616 cinematic universe, and now we have a 616 comic universe. So now we have 616 and 616 Prime, because why not make it more confusing? Anyway, all of that aside to say, they are introducing Kei Hori into her own comic. She will be coming to the modern 616 and going on a little adventure through the streets of New York. The story looks like it's going to be fun. It is being written by Ryan Little, Arione David, and Kelly Lynn D'Angelo. The art is by David Cutler, and that cover right there is from artist Afua Richardson, major Marvel Comics artist. She's definitely been on the rise. She's known for the Eyes of Wakanda series, as well as several other great Marvel series. But she is actually coming to Cape Con and will be here in Cape Girardeau for Cape Con 24, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And you can meet her and talk to her about this new issue that she has out, as well as all of her upcoming works and her previous works. Incredible lady. Damien, I know I was telling you about this the other day. I was so excited to meet her, but she's like, her dad is a scientist, and she has actually given lectures at NASA, like Afua Richardson has. She's a Juilliard trained, or she went to Juilliard for playing the flute. She is a voice actor. She's a dancer, a singer, and she makes incredible art. Like she's just like the total package. So I'm super excited to meet her. And from what I understand, she's just a super nice lady. So I'm kind of pumped. And also she lives in Chicago, which if you don't know this, I'm from there. So it's like so many things. I'm really excited to meet her. Anyway, moving on to TV, which everyone owns a TV, right? So let's talk about it. One Piece season 2 has cast Katie Seagal and Dr. Kureha. Dr. Kureha. I couldn't remember how to say it for a second there. And Mark Herlick as Dr. Hiraluk. They are going to be showing up during the Drum Island arc, which is most of you One Piece fans know, is where they also meet Tony Chopper, the reindeer / doctor of the Straw Hat Pirates. Also, like, probably one of the cutest anime characters of all time. So they will be doing the Drum Island arc. Other planned arcs for season 2 of One Piece will be Logetown, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, and Little Garden. So Billy Rhodes said, I just want to say I'm also watching the DNC at the same time. There's a world of crazy thoughts going on in my head. I think that it was a little unfair of me to put myself up against the Democratic National Convention. I feel bad that they're not going to have enough viewers because we're stealing them all. But unfortunately, if you're going to go up against Cutting Edge Hero, you're going to lose. So sorry about that, all of democracy. But anyway, season 2 of X-Men 97 will feature the Grant Morrison black leather costumes. For those of you who don't remember this, in the comics, after the X-Men movies came out and all that stuff, not that image. I don't know that I sent one of the Grant Morrison comics. That's fine. After the X-Men movies with the black leather costumes came out or whatever, Grant Morrison relaunched the all-new X-Men storyline, and he put everybody in black leather costumes, not unlike the movie costumes, except they all had big yellow X's on them. So they are introducing those costumes next season for X-Men 97. And they are also going to feature multiple X teams, so we will probably see... Eric Johnson says they went to your hometown too. Is the DNC in Chicago? Fantastic. And DNC better recognize. That's right. Don't step to this. But anyway, so they're also going to feature multiple X teams in this X-Men 97 season 2. So we should see X Factor. We might see X Force. It'd be really cool if we saw like Gen X. I would enjoy seeing them. Like, when's the last time anybody saw a Gen X comic? Yeah, no, in the like late 90s, or mid to late 90s, they introduced Gen X, which was just like teenage heroes in their own mansion. It was cool. I enjoyed it. They made a movie that was like made for TV that went directly to Fox that was just god awful, like just such a terrible movie. It's like it was around the time that the X-Men movies were about to come out or whatever, and I guess they were trying to like capture some of that audience, and they put out this like X-Men or Gen X movie that's featured a bunch of like soap opera stars playing like superheroes. And all I can say is they tried. We could not have a Gen X movie, but we do have one. It's just not good. Eric Johnson said, true, Gen X was a short-lived sporadic phase. That's because the baby boomers were busy killing us. Democracy, less than Cutting Edge Hero. Love it, Billy. That's a shirt I need. Let's see. Also, and this is for that other image you had, Damien. Marvel has also announced a making of art book for X-Men 97 season 1 that will be dropping April 29th, 2025. It is $50 for the art book, and the pre-orders are already live on Amazon. So if you get a chance and you have a little pocket change rolling around, go ahead and pick that up, and then pick one up for me. Send it to my house, or bring it to my house. You know what? I love to have guests. Come see me. Anyway, moving on from X-Men television news, The Last of Us has wrapped. Last of Us season 2 has wrapped. That's all the news I have. They've finished filming it. It's in post-production, and it should be premiering in 2025. For those of you who were really, really, really enjoying The Stranger and thought he was a cool character, I have bad news for you. Acolyte season 2 has been canceled. Disney will not be moving forward with the Star Wars series. I was pretty vocal about it on social media, and I've talked about it on the show a couple times. I think the series was good. I think they waited way too late into the series to introduce some really cool shit, and by that point, they'd already lost their audience. It was just unfortunate. Like, don't introduce Darth Plagueis in the last episode for like a couple of seconds. Why? It was supposed to be a Sith-based television series, and we didn't get any Sith until almost the end of the series. Too much buildup. Give us some more to work with. The show would have worked. Too bad it didn't. I wish all the actors luck in their future endeavors. I will be watching your careers very closely. Charlie Cox says Daredevil Born Again will have nice little cameos. So apparently he's got a character that he said in the very first Daredevil comic he read, getting ready to play Daredevil in the Netflix series. There was an interaction between these two characters, and they've had a lot of interactions in the comics, and he cannot wait to see them on screen together in Born Again. Now, if that doesn't sound like Spider-Man to you, that sounds like Spider-Man to me. But that is also wild conjecture. But he did say it's someone that he's very, very excited to get to work with. And they have a lot of interaction in the comics. He's already met Elektra, Punisher. It's Deadpool or Spider-Man. I think those are, unless he's talking about like, Billy Rhodes said, yeah, Eric Johnson's the Spider-Man cameo. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm feeling it. I think we're going to get a Tom Holland Spider-Man in Born Again. And then Billy Rhodes said, why? Because that is how TV shows are made. Now everything is a cliffhanger. There isn't such a thing as a closed story anymore. Yeah. I think that there was a space with the Acolyte to have some mystery and to have some cliffhangers and to leave us wanting more. I don't think that those cliffhangers should come at the end of the series or the season. I think they should come at the end of an episode. Like there should have been a cliffhanger at the end of episode 1. There should have been something cool like that you were getting by the end of. But I honestly, I enjoyed what they were doing with the story. But I can tell you that like the first 3 or 4 episodes of that, I was kind of like, okay, where's this going? What are we doing? What are the stakes? Who's like, and I'll also say that like that big story where the Jedi killed all the witches off, like the Coven of Witches, never felt like they did anything terrible. I mean, I know they did. I know that like my own opinion from watching it is like that was a terrible thing that they did, but it didn't seem like the story ever felt that way. It didn't feel like the directors or the writers ever felt that way. They were like, yeah, they did some bad shit, but like they're Jedi, so it's totally okay. Ken Pachi in the chat. What is up, my guy? Glad you are here. I will say, and I know Ken Pachi is very much in this boat with me. The toxic Star Wars fans really crushed the opportunity of the Acolyte ever going anywhere. Eric Johnson said Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Elektra, Jessica Jones, Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, all the Hell's Kitchen and Heroes for Hire peeps have already been seen. Absolutely. There are just not that many people left at ground level in Daredevil's world, and I really think that basically almost has to be Spider-Man, unless it's Taskmaster. There's been some great Daredevil and Taskmaster stories. There's also been some great Daredevil and Moon Knight stories. I guess that's an option. Kenpachi said, I hope they bring back the characters from the Acolyte in a different series with different writers and directors. Eric Johnson says it's got to be Tom Holland. I agree. I'm 100% with you, Eric. So I ran out of time to write notes, but I do have more stuff to talk about. Todd Phillips says that Joker Folie à Deux is not a musical. It is going to have some musical scenes, but it is not altogether a musical. They did consider a Broadway spin-off of the DC movie. So, if you want to see the Joker on Broadway, nothing says shameless cash grab like taking a high-earning R-rated movie and turning it into a Broadway musical. Let's see. You know what? I think I'm good on the Sweetie Mitch Mix vlog. What's up? Thumbs up from the Philippines. What is up? Glad you're here. Glad to have a holler from the Philippines. That's exciting. And hello, glad you're here. Yeah, I think that does it for us this week on bullet points. Actually, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. Where is it? Give me just a second. Oh, I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but they are dropping another Arkham game in the Batman mythos. It is called Batman Arkham Shadows. It looked really cool when I saw the trailer. I was like, wow, I'm excited. There's a new Arkham game. Until I found out that it's VR only and it's only on the Meta Quest headset. Great. Super great. Very excited about that. Space Boy said, holla. Space Boy, I'm glad you're here, but if you're here, who's taking care of Landon? And then Sweetie Mick said, I'm good. I'm here now in Qatar. I'm your new friend. Well, welcome, new friend. Glad you're on the show. We love each and every one of our followers, both emotionally and physically, as often as possible. But anyway, so that does it for bullet points this week. Fire away, Damien.
Which one do I hit?
The bullet points one. All right, guys. I am going to spare us all a lot of talking in between. There really wasn't a lot to talk about that came out this last week as far as like nerd television or any of that kind of stuff. So Billy Rhodes, absolutely, I love you. And Sweetie said hi. Space Boy, hi. Glad you guys are all there. But anyway, I don't really have a lot in between the segments to talk about today. We were very fortunate to have James Gavsie on the show earlier talking about Alpha Initiative 0. And so that's very exciting. And I don't know what the main plot of that story is, but you know what I bet we'll probably see, Damien? A redemption arc. And that's what we're talking about this week on the hit list. Welcome to the hit list, guys. Go ahead and get your 5 favorite redemption arcs in the chat. We will be discussing them as they come up. I am excited about this one. There are a lot of great redemption arc characters out in the world. So hopefully you have a good one. I know that I do. Damien, would you like to kick us off with your number 5?
All right, my number 5, I didn't have time to get a picture, but my number 5 is Catra from She-Ra Princesses of Power. I definitely think she had an interesting arc, but I don't know that necessarily her character getting redeemed was necessarily the best decision. I always preferred Catra as a villain in the original She-Ra, so
yeah, that's a tough call to feel like a character doesn't deserve forgiveness.
Oh, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve forgiveness. I'm just saying maybe the redemption was not necessarily what she needed.
Hey, man, believe what you want. I'm not your dad.
Yes, you are.
That's true. I am his dad. Damien, what do we have in chat? Nothing yet. So we're just gonna have to like spit back and forth until our chat starts dropping their
opinions.
No, their lists. We should be seeing some number 5s dropping in there any second now. Guys, these redemption arcs can be anything. It can be absolutely anything.
Sasuke
Deontay Lifter
Uchiha.
has us with a number 5. Yes, Deontay's number 5 is Sasuke Uchiha. Absolutely. Sasuke went on a quest to destroy his brother and then found out that he was actually a pretty good guy.
Didn't he kill his brother?
Yeah, Sasuke does kill his. I have the right there. That's as his brother's dying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Itachi and Sasuke, one of the saddest stories in all of manga and anime, but also a great story. Story about a brother who really loves his brother, but also Sasuke turns on the Leaf Village, and then after learning that everything his brother did was to save him, and it's all about family, Sasuke decided that Naruto is his family, and he was going to help him save the Leaf Village as well. It's a really touching story. Other number 5s landing in the chat, my guys. All right.
We've got one for Iroh. Says during a siege of Ba Sing Se, he at least allowed horrible things to happen, if not outright committed crimes himself.
That is absolutely true. He burned an entire village.
Yeah, I think the siege lasted 6 days on not a village, a city.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
He was burning it with fire breath, which is insane.
Yeah, and then he just become like a little cute tea-loving grandpa, trying to raise his nephew right, you know?
Yeah, I believe the reason he even stopped the siege was because of great personal loss. I think his son died.
Yes, yeah, his son died.
So, if his son hadn't died, I don't know that we would have had an Iroh that we would have liked.
It is crazy what grief will do to a person, you know? Some people become terrible human beings because they're trying to process grief, and some people become incredible human beings like Uncle Iroh when they're trying to process grief. We got any other number 5s hitting the chat? I can spit mine out while we're waiting on other people's lists to drop, and we can go back. My number 5 is from Transformers Beast Wars, and it is probably one of my favorite Transformers of all time, and that is Dinobot.
Let me find the picture.
You're good. I did send a lot of images. There he is. There's the man. So Dinobot in the Transformers Beast Wars storyline starts out as a villain, but he's an honorable villain, and then his honor dictates that he needs to switch sides and become a good guy. And then he sacrifices himself to save Rat Trap, and he dies. And then Megatron is like, I'm going to make another one because Dinobot was cool, but I want to control this one. And then what's Dinobot do? He turns good again. That's right. Redemption's so nice, he did it twice.
Which is interesting because he's supposed to be the Starscream analog who is just evil the whole time.
That's not true. The pterodactyl one. I'm forgetting his name. The pterodactyl one is the Starscream analog. God, what is his name? It's like Pterosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pterosaur is the Starscream analog. But yeah, we got any other number 5s in the chat? That is okay, guys. Damien, you want to give us your number 4?
All right. My number 4 is Corone from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. She starts off as one of the main antagonists for the series, and then after the death of Kendrix, she becomes the second Pink Ranger. And then later on, it's revealed that she's the Red Ranger's sister, and that's a whole thing. But I definitely think her arc is really interesting.
And that's a whole thing. Yeah, it's crazy how for a series that never takes itself too seriously, and a lot of times, Power Rangers is a little rough, you know, story wise, but they do introduce some characters and some arcs that it's like, damn, Power Rangers, I'm just here to watch some giant robots hit some people. What is happening?
Yeah, and Kendrick's death is really not just sad for the fact that she died, but also they didn't even have a body to bury her with because she just, her entire body just immediately turns into energy. She's just a ghost immediately.
Yeah. F in the chat for, what was her name?
Kendricks.
F in the chat for Kendricks, you know, guys. Do we have any number 4s that people want to drop? Billy Rhodes said he loves Beast Wars. He did name Terrorsaur. I apologize, Billy. I couldn't see the comments at that time. And then he said it's Starscream himself. He showed up in the show. Yes, the ghost of Starscream does also make an appearance in Transformers Beast Wars. And then doesn't he merge with Waspinator? Doesn't
I don't
Starscream
think
like
so.
he what's that word? Whenever like a spirit goes inside of you. Possess. I believe I could be wrong.
Which is interesting because I think Beast Wars is supposed to take place before the main Transformers continuity.
I can talk about this all day, so let's go. So yes, Beast Wars takes place prior to Generation 1 Transformers, which happens in the year 2000 and the year 1998, I believe, is when the original Transformers story is supposed to take place. The Instagram thing's fine. It only lasts for an hour. So yes, the Beast Wars, they travel through time and land. They're from the future of the Generation 1 Transformers, but they travel through time and land on Earth like a millennia before the Transformers ever come out. And so they're on a prehistoric Earth. And so since there's no planets, they take the form of prehistoric beasts, which some of them aren't all that prehistoric, like Cheetor's is just a cheetah. But they then at some point find the Ark, which is the ship with the Transformers on it, and they merge with the Generation 1 Transformers, and Optimus Prime becomes Optimal Optimus, who's like this hybrid flying tractor trailer ship gorilla with like a hoverboard. Like it really goes off the rails in the later seasons of Beast Wars, but it's really fun because you get to see like actual Optimus Prime meeting with Optimus Primal, and and then they like almost destroy history. Like Megatron tries to kill all the Generation 1 Transformers off before they ever get a chance to do anything, and they have to save them. And like, I love Beast Wars. Beast Wars is just like one of the craziest Transformer series. It's got the like incredible lore. It touches every generation of Transformers, and it's so fun.
Plus, it's got really bad 3D animation that makes it so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it was bad. It's bad compared to now, but it's better than Reboot. Which was way worse. Sure. And so it was an improvement. What else do we have in chat, Damien?
We've got a couple number 4s. We've got Deontay saying Green Ranger to White Ranger for Tommy Oliver.
That is a great redemption story. He starts off as a new kid in town. He's just super nice, super chill, super optimistic. And then Rita just like turns him evil. And then he just wholesale beats the shit out of all 5 of the Power Rangers repeatedly just for funsies.
And then proceeds to be the only Power Ranger to stick around through the Disney era.
That's true. Yes. Tommy Oliver was, and he, Jason David Frank played the most Power Rangers and is in the most episodes ever of a Power Rangers character.
And then we've got the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. From Billy Rhodes.
Gotta read it.
Oh, okay. The T-Rex from Jurassic Park. She tried to eat those kids out of the SUV, then later eats the Velociraptor at the end. Had a big hero shot while roaring and the banner falls down.
Yeah, and then that same T-Rex comes back at the end of Jurassic World and saves them from the
Indominus.
Yeah. Damien knows dinosaurs better than I do, for sure.
That one's not real.
Yeah. You want to see someone that just perfectly like yin and yangs my nerdiness. It's Damien. He's into just as many nerdy things as I am, just not the same nerdy things. It's nuts.
It's really weird.
It is. But it's great. Anyway, Damien, what do you have for your number 3?
All right. My number 3 is a character from a podcast that I listen to a lot, the Magnus Archives.
Yeah, you do love Magnus Archives.
She not only starts off absolutely hating every other character and then continues to hate every other character throughout the entire show. But she also has one of the most depressing stories where basically what happens is she is a paranormal investigator on basically what is YouTube. And she ends up, as her channel's dying, goes to this train graveyard and gets shot by an evil ghost, and the bullet gets lodged in her leg for like an entire 2 seasons, and it makes her really angry all the time. And then at the end of that, they carve the bullet out of her leg in an impromptu surgery where she gets knocked out. And then she gets trapped in the archives after that, and then immediately upon learning how to quit, she stabs out her eyes with an awl. And then she becomes a blind prophetess, cursed to walk the apocalypse without being affected by it.
I guess you could say that's all bad.
Yeah, it's all really bad. Also, we didn't do your number 4.
We didn't do my number 4?
Nope.
Oh, you guys want to know what my number 4 is? It is the brother of Dante from Devil May Cry, the man himself, Virgil. He is introduced in Devil May Cry 1 as Angelo Nero, a big evil dark knight, and then you kill him and he dies. And then he's not back until Devil May Cry 5, where he shows up as V. He's actually 2 characters in Devil May Cry 5. He's both Virgil and V. And then eventually V regains the part of him that was missing that makes him Virgil, and he regains that ability. Now, you might have noticed, I did say he doesn't come back until Devil May Cry 5, but there are multiple Devil May Cry games where Virgil is in them. That's because in the progression of games, it's Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 2 takes place after Devil May Cry 1. Devil May Cry 3 takes place before 1. Then Devil May Cry 4 takes place after 3, and then 5. So, and then there's DMC, which we don't talk about. It's this terrible remake where they're all like goofy, like fedora wearing weirdos. It's that game's really dumb and doesn't make any sense. But the other DMC games are incredible. And Virgil, Deontay said Virgil is my number 3. That's fine, Deontay. I'll talk about it again whenever you list yours. But yeah, so Virgil is my favorite Devil May Cry character, probably just because he has a katana, but also like he's really cool. And I also like his fashion sense, like high collared, long coats, like he just looks cool.
Here, I'll put that picture back up again.
Look at that. That just screams cool, like everything about it. Yeah, I wish I looked like that every day. Anyway, what do we have in chat, Damien?
We got one for number 3. Kate from Fallout 4. She's a murderous, drug-addicted MMA fighter when you first meet her, and then you cure her addiction, and immediately she's more fun being an addict.
Admittedly, she's more fun being an addict.
Oh, sorry.
That is some toxic fandom right there. It's like, can you get back on the junk? You're way cooler then. And then, yeah, as Deontay listed, Virgil is his number 3 from Devil May Cry. Deontay, I apologize if I steal any more of your list. We're both cool. We both like cool things. It is what it is. Damien, what do you have for your number 2?
Let's do your number 3 first.
I keep skipping it.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry. I know you really you all show up for my list. That's why you're here. My number 3 is a poor, mistreated, redheaded stepchild who grew up to have more power than
just like me.
who grew up to have more power than any one man should have, and that is the Juggernaut. Cain Marko, the stepbrother of Professor X, has long been a villain of the X-Men, and then he wasn't. Cain found his heart and abandoned Cyttorak as his master and became a good guy for a while, and actually moved into the X Mansion and became a teacher at the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. And then Cain ran into, so that was the redemption part. But then moving, it's comics, everything goes back to the status quo eventually. Then moving beyond that, Cain found that his Juggernaut powers weren't doing enough for him after he had abandoned Cyttorak. So he and Cyttorak sat down, had a little heart-to-heart, and Cyttorak said, if you want to be tough, you got to serve me. And he was like, you got to fully commit to being my agent. And Cain was like, you know what? Yeah, I need that power. and then became the most powerful version of the Juggernaut that we've ever seen, able to destroy really he can hang with like the strongest versions of the Hulk. He can trade punches with the Sentry. Colossus can't hang with him. He's the most dangerous version of the Juggernaut he's ever been. And he's not a good guy now, but he was for a minute, and that was kind of cool. He like hooked up with She-Hulk. They had a whole thing. He was living his life, Good for you, Kane, and then not so good for you. But also, like, everybody loves Juggernaut, so whatever. Damien, what do you have for your number 2?
All right, I've got In from Pokemon Black and White. He's the son of a cult leader, the leader of Team Plasma Genesis, and basically he's used as Pokemon Jesus for a while, and he gets raised by a Zoroark in some ruins. But when he's introduced in the game, his main goal is to destroy all humans so that only Pokemon live on the Earth. And after you defeat him and catch the legendary Pokemon in Black and White, he realizes that maybe humans aren't all bad, just really his dad. And then in Black and White 2, you have to battle him once and then catch the legendary Pokemon at the very end of the game.
Yeah, so N.
That is his name. It is just the letter
N. Just the letter N. It's like there were not 5 more letters after that they wanted to use. It's just the letter N. Cool. Guys, let's get your number 2s in chat. Drop your hot, steamy number 2s right there on top of the chat. But yeah, I haven't played a lot of Pokemon games.
I have.
I know. Deontay.
We've got number 2, Prince Zuko from Deontay,
voiced by the legendary Dante Bosco, who we've met. He's a very, very nice person. I enjoyed my time talking to Dante Bosco. And Zuko is I don't even really have to think about it. Zuko is my favorite character from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's so cool. Zuko is a bad man.
He's really bad at being bad.
That's true. Yeah, he is bad at being bad. But when he goes from being bad to doing something good, it makes him ill for a whole episode.
Yeah, it does. And it's really funny.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't want to be bad no more. And he's like, oh, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, his spirit was at war with his psyche for like an entire episode. And then we don't even get to see it. It's so sad.
Oh, speaking of, actually, hold on 2 seconds.
Again?
Yeah, again. Where is it? Never mind. I don't know where it ended up.
What are you looking for?
The blue spirit mask.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
That makes me sad. Is it in this? Never mind, guys. Sorry. We do have the blue spirit mask from Avatar: The Last Airbender that I bought for Katrina last year, but I can't find it. So it's definitely somewhere, though.
Is it not upstairs on her shelf?
No, it's down here somewhere.
Okay.
What do we have from? What else do we have in chat?
You're gonna read this one.
Oh, Waluigi. Various Nintendo properties. Yeah, he's B Team. Yeah, he's B Team sidekick. But the fans came around, and now he's a favorite. Wah. What?
Great commentary.
What do you mean?
Wah?
Yeah. Wah.
Yeah.
I wish I had a pointy mustache. And as we established last week, Waluigi was introduced on Mario Tennis on the N64. Was his first appearance. And I do love the introduction of characters like Waluigi and Wario into the Nintendo canon, because like every version of everything from like the 90s, the 80s and the 90s. If you had a good guy, you had an evil version of that good guy. So there's like He-Man, and then there's like the blue He-Man, who's the evil version. And like you have Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe, and you have obviously Optimus Prime and Megatron. But this like idea that there has to be an antithesis to every character. And in the Mario canon, the antithesis to Mario was intended to be Bowser, but then they were like, what if Mario had a best friend from childhood who grew up to hate him and decided to go on evil adventures where he did things counter to what Mario does? And then they were like, you know who else Mario has in his life? His brother. It'd be real cool if there was an evil version of Luigi too. And I know that the origin of Wario is that he's Mario's childhood friend. I don't know the origin of Waluigi, but I don't believe he's Wario's brother. Am I wrong about that?
I have no clue.
Ben is not in the chat, so I don't have him to fact check that. But if someone can look and see if Wario and Waluigi are brothers, I don't think they are. But I could be wrong.
I know they opened a pinball company,
Yeah.
which has tracks featured on Mario Kart, but
Deontay Lifter said live action Zuko is the greatest casting choice. The live action for Avatar is really good, and they didn't have to move the mark all that much since the live action for the movie was so terrible. The casting for the movie was so terrible. Other than Aang, Aang was cast well. They just pronounced his name wrong the whole movie. But the casting for the live action Avatar is incredible. But I would say, out of all of the characters, the best casting in the live action is God, what is his name? How can I remember his voice actor's name, Jack DeSena, and I cannot remember his character's name, which is Katara's brother.
Sokka?
Sokka is the best live action casting. That dude looks like Sokka. No?
No, I'm not sure if they ever fixed that or went through that, but I think when it was first being cast, he had falsely claimed Native American heritage, which is what they were looking for when casting for Sokka and Katara.
So like real stolen valor situation there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. This is good to know. So he had no like Aboriginal or
As far as I'm
native
aware,
blood.
I
he
haven't
pretended
looked into
to.
it much.
I mean, a little tanning cream do wonders. Damien, my number 2 is from my not the longest running anime, but the anime that I've been watching the longest amount of time, and that is Dragon Ball Z. Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, short king, full life, the bad man himself. You can go ahead and put the image up. There he is. Huh?
Yeah, the mouse was acting up.
In all of his princely glory. Don't mess with his Bulma. Vegeta, when he's first introduced in Dragon Ball Z, is like a psychopathic murderer who will kill everyone that he can get his hands on, including his Saiyan brothers, who he has battled with his entire life, which is what he does to Nappa. And
sorry.
And then he becomes this like loving family man who just like has a midlife crisis and decides he wants to smack gods around for funsies. But Vegeta, absolutely the biggest transition from like crazy psycho killer to family man that I can think of. Big fan. Damien, are you ready?
Yeah.
To give me your number 1. Damien, your number 1, please.
I've got Prince Zuko, who we have already discussed.
Yeah, but why is he your choice?
He's my choice because I was really looking forward to seeing a firebender around the same age as the gang in the show that they were going to introduce later on, and then they just redeemed Zuko, and I thought that was really cool. I also really enjoy his arc with Aang, where they go and visit the Sun Temple.
Oh yeah.
That was such a good episode. But basically him having to relearn firebending from the very beginning alongside Aang as part of his redemption was a really great choice.
Yeah, and that episode's really cool because it's got dragons in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love dragons.
So cool. I love dragons too. Dragons are the best.
And then they repopulated the dragons entirely by Korra. Just Zuko working alone on that.
Are you saying Zuko was mating with dragons?
No.
Oh.
Oh my god.
The disappointment on your face when I asked that question. So palatable. Oh, guys, get your number ones in the chat. I know you're off researching the connection between Wario and Waluigi, but if you just want to throw your number ones up real quick, get this train a moving.
Deontay says Al Simmons as Spawn. His whole story is his redemption.
Dude, the story of Al Simmons as Spawn, it's so like the early days of the Spawn comics when Todd McFarlane started writing them was like, here's like a hard edge, like superhero who like shoots people first and asks questions later, and his powers come from hell. And then he built this entire like established universe around the idea of a hell spawn. And then he introduced the angels, which were the antithesis to the spawn, and then anti-spawn, which is an interesting concept because usually you hear anti something, it's usually antichrist, which means satanic. But in this instance, it meant heavenly. The anti-spawn was the good guy. But weirdly, Spawn's the hero and anti-spawn was a fucking psycho. So that comic was all over the place. Then Spawn becomes the actual king of hell, takes over for Malbolgia, who he eventually defeats, and then finds redemption and becomes an angel himself. And then went back to just being Spawn again, because comics always go back to the status quo. But yeah, dude, Spawn is awesome. The fact that it was just like Todd McFarlane was like, I can't tell Spider-Man stories at my new comic company, so I'm going to create a version of Spider-Man where his webs are chains, he has a red cape, and his powers come from hell. And then for it to evolve from a blatant Spider-Man ripoff to what Spawn is today, incredible. Like that is one of the coolest evolutions because it could have just like came and went, but it didn't, and it has stuck. It's stayed the course. It's gone through its own evolutions. They changed from him being a vaguely Spider-Man shaped hero to having like the one big like spiked foot and being kind of like massive and dangerous. But yeah, it's I think it's really cool that again, for what was a shameless Spider-Man ripoff, then became this creature of its own with its own mythos and its own story. Deontay said, yeah, Jason Wynn was an interesting choice by Heaven, and Spawn is cooler than Spider-Man. I don't know. Deontay, I did want to ask you something. With all of the, while you're in the chat here, with all of the Channing Tatum Gambit stuff that people are talking about, and this like whole like redemption of them like wanting to make him get his own Gambit movie, I've been really thinking about it, and I'm like, I didn't like his accent in the movie. It fell flat with me. I don't think he did a very good New Orleans accent. And I was really thinking about it. I was like, how do you make an on-screen Gambit work? Because the two that we've had, Taylor Kitsch and Channing Tatum, have just been duds for me. They just don't embody Gambit for me. I think that and it occurred to me, I think the inherent problem with an on-screen Gambit is that even though he isn't in the comics, I think a live-action Gambit has to be black. I think that the only thing that would make Gambit work is to have a deep Louisiana accent gentleman of color playing the character. And I think that solves all of our live action Gambit problems. I think that the character would be serviced better by a black man than he is by any white actor I can think of in Hollywood. And there's a lot of black actors that I can think that fit the role very well. Yeah. I assumed you would be on board with that, but like really thinking about it, like there is a lot of people out there that I think would just be a great choice for a Black Gambit. And like, God, I was trying to think of the guy from, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he was in, Atlanta, and he was in, uh, what's the, thank you for, God, what is the one where they work for the phone service and they all turn into horses at the end of the movie? Deontay said, grab literally anyone from the cast of True Blood. God, what is his name? Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, I really think that would be a better choice for our live action Gambit, and I think that is inherently the problem with who they're choosing for it. Lakeith Stanfield, yes, that is exactly who I was thinking of. I think he'd be an incredible Gambit. Just for my money, I think the issue that we're having, and then you introduce Rogue as a Southern belle who grows up in a largely still segregated area of the United States, and then her love affair with Gambit and the relationship problems they have are not just about the fact that she can't physically touch him, but that like she comes from a place where it's socially unacceptable. And I think that like just adds so much more depth to the character. So for my, I don't know, maybe I'm on one here, but I think Gambit needs to be black. Anyway, Billy ever put his number one in?
Doesn't look like
he did not. I'm sure he'll throw it up the second I mention mine. My number one favorite redemption arc of all time actually is one of my favorite superheroes of all time, and that is Spectacular Spider-Man. That is my favorite. Yes, Superior Spider-Man. They both start with S. Spectacular Spider-Man, Josh Keaton is going to be at Cape Con 24, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, signing autographs, which is what I was thinking of when I said that. But Superior Spider-Man, my favorite redemption arc, Doc Ock kills Peter Parker, takes over his body, and becomes a new Spider-Man, and then learns that with great power comes great responsibility, and decides to turn over a new leaf and become a good guy. And not only does he become a good superhero, he becomes the best version of Spider-Man because he fully uses his intelligence and his ability, and he uses the spider abilities to its fullest. And he was so cool and so popular that even whenever they decided to bring Doc Ock back and kill Superior Spider-Man off, they just found an alternate reality version of him and popped him back into the 616, so they both exist at the same time. And it's just he's got a lot of staying power, and he's a very cool character. And I also love that he's wearing so it's this, whenever they were designing the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suits, they let Alex Ross design Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, and those suits never got used. And then years later, Marvel Comics picked up that Alex Ross suit for Superior Spider-Man. So one of the coolest spider suit designs by Alex Ross eventually made it into the comics, and it is the Doc Ock Spider-Man. And I just think all told, it is just so cool, and I enjoy it. Let's see. Deontay said about Lakeith Stanfield, he'd be okay, but I'm scared of him. I like people who can moderate their weirdness. Lakeith is so over the top with his weirdness. It's true. He does choose some really weird roles. I'm going to make a list of people that I think would be a great cast for Gambit, and we can discuss it next week on the show. Next week's hit list is the opposite of this week's hit list. We are doing, what did you call it?
Corruption arcs.
We're going to do top 5 corruption arcs. That is characters that started out good or okay and then went real bad. Oh, Billy threw his number one in there.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Bill Clinton. Yeah, he got impeached because he lied, but people seem to love him again currently. You know, another one that I thought about putting on here and I didn't, the guy that was going to go down at one point was going to go down in history as the worst president America has ever had, George W. Bush. And then Trump got elected, and then he went on this thing where he like fell in love with the Obamas and like started painting paintings to like show people his feelings and started selling them for charity. And suddenly this man who was guilty of some pretty heinous war crimes during the war on terror suddenly doesn't seem so bad. He's just a fun little painting grandpa, you know? But anyway, what was it one more time? Corruption arcs.
Yeah.
So next week for the hit list, we're doing our 5 favorite corruption arcs. So I think that will be a fun one, and I'm looking forward to it. And we will catch you next week on the hit list. Welcome back to the show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Big thank you to James Gavsie for joining us on the show. Really, thank you, Damien, for jumping in and helping out. You didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate that you were willing to do so.
Sorry, it's been so rough.
No, it is fine. That is running a show like this is a big learning curve, and you figured it out in about 10 minutes. So I think that is fantastic. You learned on the fly. The show was still good. I think the entertainment value was still here. And I think it was nice to give people an opportunity to see that I'm not the only one who will rattle on for 15 minutes about some random piece of lore that and I'm bad about taking it to a point where I'm the only one currently caring about it, but you kept it interesting. So, the next version is definitely an improvement over me. Billy said it's only in hindsight that people love Bush Jr. The bar for the GOP is pretty fucking low. It's really true. It really, really is. Like, I would have swore to you by the time Bush got out of office that there was never going to be a worse president than George W. Bush. Like, just never. There's no way. Nobody could drop the ball further. Like, incompetent, borderline, not borderline, incompetent, and like criminally negligent, and just like, and then he doesn't seem so bad anymore. He seemed like he kind of did an all right job. And Billy said, I can't wait for Friday. So those of you who don't know, the new Crow movie, which I'm not particularly looking forward to, but I am going to go see in theaters, Billy Rhodes and I, and hopefully Landy and Space Boy, maybe if they can make it, we'll all be going to see The Crow at 4:30. Deontay, if you want to join us, you're totally invited, bro. Come hang out. But we're gonna go get deep dish pizza at Rosati's and then go see The Crow on Friday. So if you guys are around, come watch with us. I think it'd be a good time. If you're busy, totally understand. See it when you got time. It'll be on streaming like 2-3 weeks after it hits theaters. So that's gonna be fine. I did tell Billy earlier today, I feel like this is the only film I will ever see that I will physically harm me by watching it. So we'll see how that all goes down. But either way, we're going to have a good time. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the show. Damien, you got anything you want to say to the nice people?
Thanks for having me on here and being patient with me. I know I didn't do the best, but I am trying.
You did great, kid. You know what, guys? I appreciate each and every one of you. I love the show. I love our fans. I love the following. Jennifer Johnson said, great show, bro. And it was a great show. You're right. I'm trying to think of my little piece of wisdom. I want to leave at the end here. Sounds Amazeballs, great show, Nerd Father. Thank you, Deontay. I like that we established a new Nerd Prince today with James Gavsie. That was a fun little bit of addition to the lore. Deontay is my other nerd son. Like, it's there's a whole like extended nerd family happening around here. But anyway, yeah. So if I would say if someone hands you the option between light side and dark side, go dark side. They're the ones that have all the fun. And we'll catch you guys later. Have a great night.